Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome back to another video. Firstly, I want to apologise for the last week or so where I haven't uploaded a video. I've had food poisoning, which isn't particularly fun, so we'll move on from that. I also want to quickly note out the gameplay in the background. So recently some friends that I used to run a league with have created a mod on Assetto Corsa called Super GP, sort of mixing some of the best moments of Formula 1 cars over the last sort of 20 or 30 years. So I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. Massive thanks to Alfie for the gameplay and Willem and the whole team for creating this mod. If you have Assetto Corsa, go and check this out. It's an incredible mod and I'm looking forward to playing it properly myself as well. But nonetheless, today's video we're going to be just sort of speaking about F1 2019 pre-season testing and basically what has been going on. There's been a lot of news over the last couple of days and I want to speak about it, as much of it as possible, in today's video. So we're going to start off with Williams because I don't know, I feel like that's probably the biggest story of the pre-season testing so far. On the first 2 days, even first 2.5 days, they haven't really made an appearance. I'm recording this on the Wednesday, so I think at this point they haven't even got it out onto the track. And of course Thursday is the last day of testing in this Catalunya first test. So they're struggling with this FW42. They are very behind schedule, vastly behind schedule, let's say, vastly behind schedule, and that's worrying going to this season because we saw their FW41 was already a pretty tragic car, was definitely the worst car on the grid for the majority of last season, and the fact that behind schedule for this year as well is very, very worrying. Does this make you think that the people at the top, possibly Claire Williams, possibly Paddy Lowe, are they in a bit of a tricky place? Let's just say that. Are they potentially going to be losing their jobs over the next couple of months? Because this is embarrassing. This is very embarrassing for a team that's been struggling for a number of years now to now be just not even showing up to the first test of the season, basically. I can't really see them getting much running on this Wednesday. I mean, you guys are going to be seeing this video after the testing is done probably, but I can't see them getting much running on the Wednesday. Thursday, once again, probably going to be just filled with a lot of installation laps and just trying to get some laps on the board. But it is very worrying for the Williams team that they're coming into this season with very little testing in comparison to the majority of this field, because there are new upgrades for this season. There is a difference in the sort of whole rule package for this year, because they are pretty different cars to last year. They will have a substantial amount of less downforce for Williams, and the whole teams really, they're all going to have a lot of downforce, or a lot less downforce I should say, than in previous seasons. So that's going to be something you want to be testing and getting as many days and many kilometers on track as possible. So the fact they're so far behind is very embarrassing for them as a team. And this is coming from someone that loves Williams. I absolutely adore the team. I just wish them the best every single season. And to see them in this predicament is very, very tough, because I just want to see them back at least in the midfield, because the last couple of seasons have been somewhat embarrassing when they're towards the back of the field, just sort of competing to not be last. So come on guys, come on Williams, we know you have got the crew there, we know you've got the team there to create some amazing cars. We saw even as early, or as lately as sort of 2014, 2015, they were producing a pretty good car, battling for 3rd and 4th in the Constructors' Championship. So the fact it's gone so downhill so quickly is worrying, and I've just got my fingers crossed this doesn't continue on for the rest of the season. But they've got a decent lineup. Obviously George Russell, a rookie, is going to be wanting to get many kilometres, and so is Mr. Kubica is going to be wanting him to get some kilometres as well, considering all of the years out of Formula 1 and out of racing he's had. He's going to be really wanting to get as many kilometres in a Formula 1 car as possible. So they need to get quickly, get quickly done all this sort of stuff that they should have been doing months ago. They need to be getting through all of that and getting this car out on track, because it's getting embarrassing. And we've got a whole new load of sponsors on that Williams car for this year as well, and they don't want to be disappointed. So they need to get their act together, otherwise this is going to be a very disappointing season for Williams once again. And I personally don't think the Formula 2 champion that did a fantastic job last year deserves to be in a car that looks like it's going to be right at the back of the grid. Of course, I'm looking forward to being proven wrong, but right now it looks like that Williams is going to be right at the back of the grid. So it's worrying, and maybe I need to be changing some of my pre-season predictions, because this Williams look like it's going to be up for a tough season. But nonetheless, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole Williams situation. Do you think the guys at the top of the food chain at Williams should be definitely thought about as maybe losing their jobs? I know Claire Williams is sort of family, so that might be a tough one to to get around. But still, if they're not doing a good enough job, I think Frank Williams should be saying, yeah, you don't deserve to be in this team if you're not doing a good enough job. And that goes for not just Claire Williams, a lot of the people at the top of that team, maybe like Paddy Lowe as well. They should be meeting expectations, and that card doesn't deserve to be, that team doesn't deserve to be right at the back of the grid, and they haven't been doing enough over the last couple of years to ensure that isn't the case. So we briefly picked up on the new rules package for this year, and the substantial difference really is that front wing. It's much more simplified than it was over the last couple of years, which is really interesting. Of course, we've seen Ferrari and Alfa Romeo come out with some slightly different ideas about the rules and how they can adapt to them, and it's really interesting to see whether that is the right approach. I think I remember hearing them say in some sort of commentary over the last couple of days that I'm sure when you release a car and it looks completely different to the rest of the grid, it's either a terrible feeling or a great feeling. You feel like you know you've got a little bit of a playing card there, you've got a little bit of a card up your sleeve there, and it's going to be a good season possibly like Brawn in 2009, but at the same time it could go completely the other direction and we could be looking at a bit of a whole redesign. So let's keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen for the Ferrari and Sauber teams, because that would be detrimental to their season, of course. So I'm interested to see which wing design actually works out, because they said that the front wing basically affects the rest of the car, so you can't just really change a front wing and it would be completely fine for the rest of the car. The front wing decides what the area on the rest of the car looks like, really, so the whole rest of the back end of the car is basically designed around the front wing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all works out, because of course we've seen the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo. I'm going to keep thinking to call it Sauber, but yeah, the Alfa Romeo Sauber. Oh no, it's not the Alfa Romeo Sauber either, it's just Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo and Ferrari coming out with very different front wings. Is that going to be the way forward, or do you think that the traditional effort from guys like Mercedes is going to be the one that could be the one for the championship? So I'm thinking I'm actually quite liking the look of these new cars. I think I like the simplified front wings. I know having a really high detailed front wing is cool, but at the same time I do kind of like the fact they are simple now, and it should enable the cars to follow each other a little bit closer. And we've already seen a couple of little moments out on track. Hamilton and Kvyat one that I was quite intrigued with. Of course, Hamilton was quicker, he flew past Kvyat in the end, but Hamilton was following Kvyat quite closely, and even though that Kvyat was, of course, quite a lot slower, Hamilton was, he wasn't just breezing straight past, but at the same time he was able to follow him a lot closer. And around a track like Spain, that is really, really important, because you want to get that run onto the main straight, for example, to get that DRS. And actually saying that, DRS is going to be, I think, a bit more powerful this year, as the space in that rear wing is going to be slightly bigger. So that is going to be another thing to be watching out for this season. Is that DRS now too powerful? Because we saw some circumstances in last season that, in fact, it was the case. It was the case that the DRS was so powerful that you could breeze past someone within a couple of meters if you got a good enough run out of the last corner. So I think we want to make sure that DRS isn't too OP, because if the DRS gets that OP, it sort of spoils the I don't know, the interest in overtakes if they're just done so simply with the press of a button. So we'll see. We just want to make sure that DRS doesn't get to the stage where it's a guaranteed pass. I think that we obviously want to see cars that are much quicker get past, but we don't want to get to the point where people are just overtaking left, right and centre because DRS is so powerful. So let's see what happens with that. But of course, big improvements or big changes with the front wing, and also slight changes with the DRS as well, should hopefully provide us with much better racing in 2019. And that's something we somewhat struggled with in the 2018 season, as following a car close behind was quite a tough mission over the last couple of years. And hopefully that, along with the slightly improved, we hope, DRS is going to, I think, provide better racing. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's keep our fingers crossed, lads, because let's be honest, 2018 in some stages wasn't really the best at all. So we couldn't really do this video without noting how on it Ferrari have been in the first 2 days of pre-season testing. Of course, I'm recording this on the Wednesday, but I have not seen what comes about in this third day. But in the first 2 days, Ferrari both at the top of the timesheets in both days. I don't know what to make of this, if to make anything of it. Of course, it's just testing. It doesn't mean anything. Hamilton was he 9th on the first day of pre-season testing? It doesn't mean anything. That's not what we're going to be when they get to Australia, let's be perfectly honest. But at the same time, the fact that they're doing so many laps and are top of the timesheets is interesting. It is interesting. And the fact that they're already pretty similarly paced to last year's cars, even with much less aero, is pretty impressive. It shows the development that the teams can do from season to season. Even though there's less aero, they're still managing to somewhat match the car speed from last year, which is fantastic. And if the fact that they can follow more closely is also a thing, it's just going to be awesome for Formula 1. They're just as quick as last year, and they can follow closely, and they've got hopefully slightly improved DRS. It's looking good. I'm really in a good place looking towards the 2019 season. I'm thinking, just from pre-season testing, it kind of makes me feel that this season is going to be a whole lot better than last year's in terms of close racing. So that's fantastic. As a fan, of course, we want to see close battles out on track. So it's exciting. But going back to Ferrari, of course, it's just one of those things. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything really, the fact that they're at the top of the timesheets. But for me, more of interest is the fact that they're not much slower than last year's car, and they're undoubtedly not on the optimal tyre loads and also the fuel loads as well. So I think it's going to be interesting. I still think we're going to have a quicker 2019 car than 2018, especially at tracks that have low downforce anyway, like Spa, like Monza. We're going to be seeing cars doing, I think, much faster lap times, so that is exciting in itself. So something else of note as well is that all of the teams are generally getting quite a lot of running in. It's not like a couple of years ago where 3 or 4 teams were really struggling. We're seeing decent amount of lap times from the Honda power units, the Renault power units, Ferrari and Mercedes. So it's all about really now the power they put out, I guess, and the amount of durability they have throughout a season or throughout a number of races, and also how quick they can actually go throughout a race without having to do like saving of the engine or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see which team or which manufacturer of engines comes out on top. It's really exciting to see. I really just hope we have 4 really competitive engines. I highly doubt they're all going to be the same. I don't think they're going to be completely the same. I feel like there will be one that is probably better than the rest, but I just hope there isn't a massive gulf between them, because of the last couple of years, Ferrari and Mercedes have undoubtedly been the best two, and then Honda was the worst for a number of years. Last year, maybe it was even better than Renault in some circumstances. But I want to close that gulf. I don't want there to be 2 big stages between them. I don't want to see Renault and Honda being so far behind the other 2. So fingers crossed this year there won't be so much of a gap. And the fact that they're all, I guess, somewhat reliable by the look of pre-season testing, that's good to see. That's a good start. That is a good start going forward. And I think also for British F1 fans, it's good to see that McLaren are also getting a number of laps, and I think they did more laps on one day than they did in like the whole of the Spain test last year or something like that. I heard that stat. I don't know whether it's 100% true, but I think I heard that stat, which is crazy if true. So that's great for them. Of course, they struggled throughout the whole of that 2018 season, partly because they didn't have really much running at the start of the year, and they had so many issues with the power units. And basically, McLaren have struggled for the last sort of 4 or 5 pre-season tests because of their dodgy power units. This is the first time in a very long time that McLaren have actually had a pretty decent pre-season testing. So that's good. That's good for British Formula 1 fans, and fingers crossed it keeps for the rest of the season. I can't see McLaren really going for even best of the rest in the midfield, but if they can get solid points in a majority of races, or even just half the races, I think they'll be happy, because let's be honest, it's been a bit of a decline over the last couple of seasons, and they need to start getting good again. We need to see McLaren good again. At least some of us want to see that. I'm sure Ferrari fans, Red Bull fans, Mercedes fans don't want to see that happening, but I think for the unbiased people, like, well, actually most people say I'm not unbiased, but the impartial viewer like myself, I'll say, I want to see McLaren get up there again, because let's be honest, they deserve to be up there, as do Williams. There we are then, a really interesting pre-season testing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these last couple of days go, and let me know what your thoughts are on the whole of this video really, because of course so many interesting subjects to speak about and to talk about because of pre-season testing. Of course I could go on forever, I could make loads and loads of points about what's been going on in pre-season testing, but I need to give myself something to speak about next week, so let's not spin it all. But yeah, so overall a really interesting first couple of days of pre-season testing, and I'm interested to see what comes of this whole sort of slightly different aero package, whether certain teams are going to, really promote from it. I mean, maybe Racing Point could be one to watch this year with that influx of money. I can see them doing good things this year, and I think them versus Renault is going to be an interesting battle on track this year. And also, we spoke about it in the unpopular opinions video, whether possibly we could see Lance Stroll have a good season. Could he get a podium or two? Okay, that's maybe going a bit too far, but I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on that one. Do you think Lance Stroll can get a podium this year? Let me know of that one in the comment section down below. I know it's a highly controversial one, but I'd appreciate your comments on that one in that comment section down below. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. If you change your mind on who you think the champion is going to be, let me know in the comment section down below as well. And also, if you have any subjects and videos you would like me to make over the next couple of days, let me know. As I said, university is a bit of a crazy one, but overall I'm trying to make sure that I do 2 or 3 YouTube videos a week. Of course, the last week or so has been pretty tough because of that certain illness, which is not pleasant, but I've been working around it and just trying to do as much as possible for university, but it's been very tough. But that's what it is. You're not watching me to hear about me complain about university, because the majority of the people who go through university go through my issues, so I'll shut up about it. So thank you for watching once again, guys. I really appreciate your time watching this video. Of course, those comments in the comment section down below are always appreciated. Even if I don't respond to every single one of them, I do read every single one of them, so always interested to hear your opinions on that. So thanks again for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day. Thanks again for the gameplay Alfie and Super GP for giving me this. I'm really excited for the mod and seeing how it all goes. So thanks again. Remember to go and check that out in the description of this video. Once again, I wasn't doing the driving, that was Alfie, so thanks again for that. I appreciate that, because of course I didn't really have any time, or I wasn't feeling good enough whilst I had this food poisoning to do so. So thanks again. I'll see you guys around soon. It's been Alex, I'm out here. Goodbye.